I feel like there's some good news as of right now when it comes to ICP, and let me explain why, even though nothing I say is financial advice. Not too long ago, it was announced that the Solana and ICP integration is now live. Can you imagine this? This is a great collab, in my opinion. A very amazing collaboration because when I take a look at some people out there saying, oh, the internet computer, in order for it to maybe go up, sometimes people like to argue with this with me, right? They say, in order for it to do well, Solana has to go down. In theory, I don't think that is the case because I think there is quite essentially, in theory, room for the good players to eat, if that makes sense. Because yes, there's a lot of competition when it comes to the internet computer, but then it doesn't mean there's only going to be one that is really just going to, overtake and nothing else is going to do anything. Like, for instance, Ethereum is very massive, right? Many people's go-to layer one blockchain, but it doesn't mean it's the only one that exists. Of course, there's like Avalanche, Algorand. We take a look at, something like Solana, BNB Chain's very famous as well. I mean, there's a bunch, but I'm just saying. Cardano, of course. But again, I think you get the point here. When it comes to Solana having quite essentially, I would say, this integration with ICP, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think if anything, it's going to bring more attention to something like ICP because Solana, as we all know, very massive, right? One of the biggest layer one blockchains out there. People like its speed, they like its scalability, they like the low gas fees. And when we take a look at the internet computer, it shares a lot of the same traits. But then here's the thing, Solana has more fans, the adoption is better, at least in my opinion. So then, again, I think this, if anything, is going to help something like the internet computer. It could help also Solana, but then I think it would actually help more something like the internet computer because the internet computer, in my opinion, is very revolutionary. Focused on decentralized AI, can connect Web 2 and Web 3 without oracles. And also, not to mention, it's scalable, very fast. People like it on paper, but then the main complaint has always been that, it's not that popular, despite it hypothetically being good fundamentally. But then now I think seeing stuff like this, first of all, I think showcases kind of the dedication of the team in a sense that when I view, other projects out there, let's say, it just kind of feels like the team treats it as a part-time thing and they don't really want to just have this collaboration or this collab or whatever, right, with other projects because they feel like, it's going to diminish us and kind of show a sign of, us not believing in the future. I disagree with that. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we see that a lot in the world of fashion, like for instance, right? This brand collabs with this brand, there's a lot of that. So I don't see anything wrong with that. But then a lot of projects out there, they have this mentality where they feel like, if we believe in our project or whatever, we cannot, collab with another one. Nah, I don't like seeing that. I like seeing stuff like this though, because Solana, in my opinion, right, fundamentally is very good. I think when it comes to the internet computer, fundamentally also very fantastic. So why not kind of join forces in a sense? And then at the same time, bring more attention, in theory, to something like the internet computer. This is really such a good thing for me, at least. So then when I take a look at people like to say, the internet computer, it's not good and all this. Well, again, they're not a project that only does things when things are good, if that makes sense. The price of ICP, let's face it, in theory, I don't think it's doing good, in my opinion. Despite it having a pretty big market cap, again, the price action and all this type of stuff, I'm totally aware of that. But then, in my opinion, what I like is that the project feels like it's heading in the right direction. You know what I mean? Because the price is affected by a lot of things. People selling, also the market sentiment, just a bunch of different things. And also, no matter how bullish the factors are, like for instance, the number of institutional investors, the amount of enterprise adoption, take a look at the quality of projects that exist as of right now, despite having over 600 million crypto owners, according to Crypto.com research. I get all that, right? But if the markets in general are not allowing for, that to really showcase what it's capable of, then it won't really do that, in my opinion. So I think that when it comes to the price, when it comes to ICP, hypothetically, in my opinion, it's going to do its thing. I cannot demand for it to do this, do that. I can't do that. But then there's only one thing I can control, and that's myself. That's just by constantly accumulating more and just holding, literally, that's it. I'm dollar cost averaging. I'm not doing anything fancy like, trying to day trade or use leverage and all this. This is not my style. I'm not doing that. But then I don't see why $100 wouldn't seem that crazy, even though I can't tell the future. But I'm just saying, $100 is around an 18x from here. Even if, let's say, you know, ICP just went to the price of $50, in theory, that's already around a 9x from here. You know what I mean? Give or take. So I just kind of don't feel like this is something too difficult to achieve, maybe because going to the price of, again, $100, let's say, market cap at that point around $53.5 billion. I mean, come on. We've seen like Dogecoin reach over $80 billion in market cap, and that was years ago back in 2021. This doesn't seem too outlandish to me, in my opinion. And when I see the direction in which the internet computer is heading, because of course, AI, I think is going to be a big narrative again, in theory, once the market really does pick up again. Keep in mind that market size right there for the AI space, right, is predicted to reach nearly $2 trillion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. So we just got to let that sink in. I mean, that's massive, in my opinion. Will it ever reach that? Who knows? But I'm just saying, even when we saw like a mini altcoin pump not too long ago, I would arguably say, take a look at how well those AI projects did. And that was like not even a fully fledged type of altcoin season. Now, of course, a lot of the hype kind of disappeared, but I'm just saying, imagine if the hype was better than back then. Could you imagine the hype for AI? And back then, I think the internet computer wasn't really considered as this project that is focused on AI. But I think now a lot of people are kind of thinking about it in that way. You know what I mean? So I feel like, again, the pieces may be in place. I just need to wait. Really, that's it. Beyond that, I can't control anything. And some people out there, they like to ask me, oh man, why don't you pull up a price chart? Draw some random triangles and do this and do that. Well, first of all, I've never really kind of felt like that was effective, because here's the thing. If, let's say, I only did that, right, then I wouldn't focus on the news. I wouldn't focus on the updates. Instead, what I'd be doing is just taking a look at a price chart all day. And that doesn't tell the full story. It doesn't tell the full picture as to what the internet computer is all about. Because if I was taking a look at just solely the price chart of ICP, I would probably just give up on it. You know what I mean? I'd probably be like, oh yeah, this is done. Looks worse than Dogecoin, But then, is it worse than Dogecoin? Fundamentally, I don't think so when I take a look at the fundamentals, If I was just taking a look at the price chart, I would think that Shiba Inu is a better project than this. Like, for instance, let's say I did not know one was a meme coin. I did not know if this is like a good project, whatever, right? I'd say someone just put up a price chart of Shiba Inu and ICP. I would be like, oh yeah, Shiba Inu looks more amazing. But then in theory, even though the price action when it comes to Shiba Inu, in my opinion, arguably has of course been, pretty decent compared to this, I think this has amazing fundamentals. And I just really like it because I feel like it's a project that's going to be around for the long haul. I get it. The community might not be as dynamic as something like Shiba Inu, but then again, if I was only taking out the price chart, I would not know the fundamentals, right? So I don't want to do that. I just want to focus on the fundamentals, believe in it, and just wait. Literally, that's it, because that's the only thing I can control. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's only the captain, and I'm out. Peace. Bye.